So, here we are again. What I want to say is, now that I've been to see the Orthodox in English, I can comfortably go in Greek and Russian, and I know what I'm a part of, and I know what I'm watching, and I know what I'm doing, even if I can't understand or pronounce even some of the words. But the reason why I think this is really important in the context of what LARPing is, and I truly do, I do think Paul's comment that it's LARPing until there's been some serious history behind it is very true. At the same time, I don't think that's the reason why it's true is because of the history. I think the principal reason for my conversion was the way that Peugeot always talks about meaning, how it is this thing that intersects time differently to causality. And to treat the moment as special and sacred permits it to become that, which is incredible in its own. Like, in the same way that Paul, you once said, you see what you're looking at. And I think that's true, but at the same time, there is also something more to it. And I think I learned to pray. Before I was a Christian, I made the sign of the cross. And I gave it Vivekian terminology. In fact, I have a lot of Viveki style definitions when it comes to Christianity, because I agree that there is more than propositional theory that needs to be incorporated when you're involving in this, because there is, like, we are made in the image of God. We're made in that image, which means our every being reflects that recognition. And so it is not just the appearance. It is the reason we write poetry. It's the reason we have longing. It's the reason we have heartbreak and love and grief and despair. It's all of that. It's made in the image. And so to understand it means you have to understand, you understand it in like a Vivekian way. I think he's incredibly profound for that. And when I made the sign of the cross, I began to understand what I was signing myself towards. And then with that, I was allowed to permit myself to say the Lord's Prayer as if it was true. And it was true in like that, the Peterson way of every sentence, every word mattered, meant something, was profound, and like, yeah, truly deep. I think that those were incredible parts of my journey. And the reason why I think, and that's the part that sounds like LARPing, right? Like, that's the part of going like, okay, I'm gonna pretend this is real, and then slowly my being is going to be transformed by it. Like, I still think a lot of that happens with prayer, with myself especially, definitely. But that's not the same. LARPing, the reason why LARPing isn't religion is because we're not surrendering ourselves to, we're not surrendering ourselves to an outcome. We're not surrendering ourselves to something that we know. We're surrendering to something that we can't know. Like, I've been a nerd my whole life. I've been a cosplayer. I still have so many imaginal points. Like, the previous video I was talking about capoeira. Like, LARPing in capoeira is 100% a massive part of it. Like, I perform poetry. It's allowing myself to transform my being is definite. But the difference is the knowledge. I know that I can't understand Christ. I know that I will never, I know that I will never get the resurrection, the crucifixion, the miracles. The more I know, but I know that they are understandable. It's like, there's such a strange trick with this type of stuff, because this is the postmodern thing. The postmodern thing is we cannot know the absolute, which is true. And like, as Peterson says, like, it is true that it's like there are infinite layers, but he kind of almost he does a trap with it when he says that you can't, like, you can understand it. There's a hierarchy. There is something that leads up, and up there is God. Okay, yes, I can buy into that, but it's still wrong, because how do you understand it? Like, the top of a pyramid is meant to be quartz. Like, it's meant to be something that is not part of the whole. It's not meant to be understood by, it's not meant to be made of the same material. It's meant to be something that can scan and jump around. It's something that is genuinely unknowable. And you have to surrender to the fact that it exists. You can't, and that's why it's always a relationship. That's why we have to have liturgy. To me, there's a reason why, that's why it becomes LARPing, because it's not a proposition. Like, it's a state of being. It's a mode of understanding. And that mode of understanding requires you to push yourself onto that threshold of memory, that threshold of beauty, that threshold of philosophy. Like, you have to be at a place where you're always testing yourself. It's like that thing that when Jonathan Peugeot and Vervaeke talk, like they go back and forth onto these things, and like, one of the things they say is, like, there is a philosophy, but that philosophy can stack intelligences, and it can stack like all of it. It can stack artistry and architecture and economy and population. It's a philosophy that is true in the smallest instance and the largest instance, in every single way. And again, that's why it's not LARPing. People are LARPing when they think they know. Like, people are like, I commented on this with Shari during Luke's live stream. It sounds like you're playing a game, which, if you're playing a game, then that means there's something real that you're not doing. There's something that you're avoiding, that you're stepping out away from to avoid. And it's not true, because we're not playing a game. That's the, like, we're participating in a reality more true than our own being can comprehend by itself. Like, creating a game, that's the simulacrum. That's the stuff. That's the language game of wokeism and nationalism and political parties and political disunities and anything that has an authority. Conspiracy theories, anything that goes, I know this. This is what it is. It's solid, it's stable, and everything you know is wrong. Like that's like what everyone calls the Gnostic turn. Like, Nate, sure, I think you are correct. I think there is a reason that mysticism is present in reality, and has a point. But the problem with Gnosticism is that elitist knowledge. It's the fact that it goes, no, I do know more than you. I can know more than you. And in knowing more than you, I can control your reality. I can control my reality. I can control. I am now the center of this universe. And it's like that's the weird trick. Like, yeah, I don't like the idea of like differentiating between serious play and play, because it's so much harder than just going, no, mean it this time. There's a surrender to a self capacity that happens at the threshold of fullness. Like, I don't know, like the closest, there's so many different ways that I can experience that I have experienced this. The easiest one that I talked about with you, Luke, was faith, in the sense of parkour. Like faith is fully acting with everything that you know to go beyond your understanding and beyond the experience of what you can realize. It's that leap of faith, in the sense that you're actually understanding that you're always relying on something beyond your capacity. Like, you're not removing doubt, you're actually removing ignorance. You're not going like, oh my God, I hope I make this. You're actually finally going, I hope I make this. Because you never know if you're going to make it, not by your own faculty. And obviously there's more to it than this, and there's a serious like, this ends and doesn't end, and I don't know what it means for American Orthodoxy versus Russian or Greek, and why those differences exist, and what time does to something. Like, I do genuinely think there is like a language, there is something necessary within language that we need to address, like the choice of liturgical language. I'll throw some questions out to end this. The choice of liturgical language feels like it is seriously and vitally important to the nature of how one experiences their faith. And I don't know what the true liturgical language of English is. Like, I don't know the history of Old Church Slavonic or Ancient Greek, and I do feel like I understand an affinity between a spiritual connection, or a higher order meaning connection of the Latin words and verbiage that connects to the English society so tightly. Like, I mean, it's how we classify animals, it's how we classify like phylogeny, it's how we classify any legal things. Like, there is so much into it, but it's not enough, because otherwise it would have been enough. There has to be localities. I feel like there's always something that you need to recognize involved in the terroir, the placeness of where you're from. Like, it is earth meeting heaven. It isn't man meeting God. It's earth meeting heaven. We are the intermediary structure for reality. Like, this is that whole reason why Jung never saw himself, like Jonathan Peugeot never liked Jung. He's trying to talk about reality. He's trying to talk about something beyond that frame of reference. And in a way, like, I think this is a large point that we need to really acknowledge. Once I'm gonna grab this. There is a nature in which we are trying to uncover that is more real than our experiences can actually fathom. I think that's it. I don't know. Like, I jump back. Like, I really do try to make sure that I stay as confused as possible, or I stay as uncertain as possible. The more certain I am, the more scared I am of being misled. And like, I think that's because it's true. That's what's always happened. I think it's not just I think. It's not just I think. There's like, intuition isn't knowledge, it's experience. I think in the same way that I think that there is a center of my there is a center to my existence, in the sense that, like, who I am now is the same as who I was when I was young. Like, there's some personal things happening in my family right now, and without needing to go into detail, the main thing I feel is that is a sensation that I know would have felt the same no matter how old I was. Whether I was 5 or 35, like, it would, like, this pain would have felt the same. There is a continuation to my existence that is the bedrock of my reality, and I understand it the least. But it is still the bedrock. And I think that's the reason why we go, like, are we LARPing? I think I'm not LARPing, you're LARPing. This is the original plan. The path was strayed when we thought we knew what we were doing. Whereas before, we simply listened. It's like that in the Gilchrist, like, there's a whole hemisphere that can't recognize the self. There's this, and that hemisphere is also responsible for music and recognizing faces, and it requires, like, that it requires the other, it requires the particular, the cold, the calculated, and the dead, which makes sense, because that's why there's this rush back into ancient. That's why there's, like, it always needs you pressing yourself and stressing yourself to understand it in a serious detail. Like, to get music, it's the koan that Viveki talks about. Like, when I was young, I saw the mountains as mountains and the streams as streams. And when I became on my way to enlightenment, I saw the mountains were not just mountains and the streams were not just streams. Now that I'm enlightened, I see the mountains as mountains and the streams as streams. Like, to understand music, you almost have to kill it inside yourself. I know musicians who have, like, lost the passion because they've studied it. And in a way, there is a tragedy there, because it almost is inevitable. Like, because at the end of it, your understanding of something can be presented and understood in such a deep and profound way. It goes back to the other side. It goes back to where there is that wonder and that fear again. And that's the best we're gonna get. So, I hopefully will have a poem for you tomorrow. And I'm trying to lean back in. Thank you, Luke, for your incredible mind. As always, I think what you guys are doing is amazing. With those questions, I have something for Grim, Luke, Shari, anybody, obviously, in regards to sort of the way that the narratives have been feeling. No, that's too much. One more time. Someone actually explained to me that, I was talking about it with somebody, that even I think we're in a state, like, we don't know why the narratives have collapsed. Like, it feels bizarre that, like, even though Russia is still happening, COVID is over, like, it vanished. It didn't go away. It didn't recede. It was a quick sensation. Shari especially, because you've actually probably experienced this. But she said it was like childbirth. Like, as you're when you're in active labor, you're in immense pain, and it's coming out of nowhere, but it comes in waves, and then all of a sudden it goes and it's gone again until it comes back, and we don't even know where it came from again, and it just gets more and more intense. And I really do wonder if that's how it's happening, or if that has anything to do with how some things actually do come into being. Like, I don't think I know anything in my life that's been like that, or anything close. But it's the last video I did, I was talking about capoeira. This is a berimbau. It's an African instrument that was turned into in Brazil. They use it for rodas and capoeira. It leads the game. It starts the game and ends the game. It is the anulindale of my martial art. You have open, closed, and you have muted. Well, it's late, guys. The video had to come out immediately. Heaven, earth, man. That's all I've got for now. I thought it would be funny stringing this all the time. Thanks for watching. Really cool stuff. I hope this can contribute meaningfully to any ideas that you guys have been having, and I hope to talk to you guys soon. Ashe.